For the fourth time, the United States of America are crowned champions of the world, and for the very first time they've done it on European soil. It is finished at the Stade de Lyon in the final in victory and joy for the United States.
It is a huge win for us, for women's sports, for women. The justice comes in the next generation, never having to go through what we went through. It's equal pay across the board from here on out.
You were listening to Give and Go
with Sam Cary
and Rohtas only on Girls Soccer Network. Hello and welcome. You are listening to episode 81 of Give and Go. I'm your host, Rohtas, and thank you for making the choice to listen to us at Girls Soccer Network. I am joined by my co-host, Sam Cary, who is no longer playing for IFK nor shipping. She is now a Chicago Stars FC player. She is a NWSL professional now. Sam, how are you? How are you right now?
I don't know. No, I'm doing absolutely fantastic. I can't believe my life right now. I cannot believe how lucky I am to be here. It has been a crazy month. I honestly don't actually physically know where I am at any given time. But that being said, I couldn't be happier, and I'm in Chicago now.
So tell me, like, what was the timeline for you once you found out the news that you were going to sign and then you had to move back? Like, what was that process like?
Yeah, it's been crazy. When I first found out that Chicago was interested, I looked at my agent and laughed. I'm like, really? Like, come on, don't mess with me like that. Like, really? And he's like, no, like they want to get on a call with you like in the coming days. I was like, oh, like, okay. And there's a couple of phone calls back and forth, and the whole time I'm like, they're playing me. Like, they're playing me. They don't actually, like, this isn't going to actually happen. And so, like, I was very selective about who I told even that this was going on, because I was like, honestly, I was more selective because I'm like, I can't get my hopes up that this is going to happen, because then I'll be crushed. And, like, I wasn't in a bad situation in Sweden. I was in a great situation. I loved my life in Sweden. But, like, Chicago specifically, more than the NWSL, but also the NWSL has just always been that thing I'm chasing. But when I thought of a team that like I'm gonna wear their jersey one day, it's been Chicago. So I mean, like, what do you do when your lifelong dreams come true? Haven't quite figured that out yet. But yeah, when the deal became official, because I was still under contract in Sweden until November, so there was a lot more, honestly, conversations between Chicago and the board of Norrköping and like my sporting manager at Norrköping, because they had to buy me out of my contract. So they had to do the business end on their end, which was also a very weird place for me, where it's like, oh, I know they're talking about my future and I have like no say in this. That was also a very, very weird spot to be in. But once it was official, once the deal was done, I got to finish the mid-season point in Sweden, which I'm very, very excited to just like end that chapter and know I was ending that chapter. So I knew it was my last game when I was playing in my last game. But the next day, my bags were packed. My husband and I hit the airport, and that was during like the week-long break for NWSL. So went back to St. Louis, got to see my family for the first time since January. For like 4 days, and then drove my car to Chicago and moved in. And so I've been here in training for 2 full weeks now, which is insane to say out loud. And yeah, I couldn't be happier.
Oh my God, this is so amazing. So amazing. Okay, so I have a few things I definitely want to get, ask you about for sure. The first being, like, we were there when you got drafted, right? And like, obviously that was completely different, but talk about the differences between that situation where your spot wasn't guaranteed and you're trying to make it versus now, like, Chicago well and truly wanted you, they bought you, and now you are on the roster and your spot is fully guaranteed. You are going nowhere.
Yeah, that's weird. That hasn't set in yet. And frankly, like, I don't think about it that way, because I truly believe, like, listen, my apartment has a gorgeous view of Chicago. I'm living in the city. I'm living a life I frankly never thought I'd live. Like, every day I gotta wake up and earn this. And I look at that view every single morning with my cup of coffee, and I decide that I'm gonna keep earning this view, and keep earning this feeling. But yeah, it is a very, frankly, the biggest difference is like I felt like every time I got on the ball in Louisville, I frankly was ridden with anxiety. There were oftentimes in drills, like I would find myself hiding because like there was the pressure of, oh, if I mess up, I don't know if I'm getting cut. I don't know my future. Like I don't have a contract. Like I don't have any stability. So to be on the other end of that and have a contract is a huge blessing. I feel like I can play better and I can be more, open to information and be more open to learning and growing because I have that little bit of breadth. I'm actually, having a salary, whereas when I was in Louisville, I didn't actually even have a salary. Um, so that's a huge blessing. And also like being able to put down roots. Like my husband got a job in Chicago. Today's his first day of work.
Oh my God, that's
So things
amazing.
like that are a huge blessing. But I'll be honest, I was walking through the city the other day and I was like, I live here. And that didn't feel real.
Like honestly, like knowing that you're from St. Louis and then you end up in like the closest possible team, essentially, it's like, I mean, what could honestly be better, man? I mean,
And
that's
like
a
the best story is like on top of that, like my whole family is from Chicago. Like I have so much family in Chicago. And like growing up, my grandparents lived in Chicago. They lived in Justice, Illinois, which is literally 3 miles. Like their apartment or their townhouse was from SeatGeek Stadium where the Stars play. That's when it used to be Toyota Park. I would do summer camps with Chicago Fire growing up. Grandma and grandpa would take me out there. Like we would go to games and like I mean, the full circle moment, which of course is going to make me a little bit emotional, is my grandmother passed away in January.
oh
And
my God.
I was in Sweden and I didn't really get to say goodbye. So I fully feel like this opportunity is coming because grandma's up there pulling her strings and making this happen. But getting to go to the art institute yesterday and like have memories of my grandparents taking me there and have memories of like being with grandma and grandpa in this city is just the most incredible experience on a human level to be here. And yeah, it's why I'm grateful and ready to earn my spot every day.
That's beautiful, Sam. I could not be more happy for you. And shout out to Grandma Cary. That's amazing. That's amazing. It's gonna be I can't even imagine what that's gonna be like for you. Tell me about how like do you think this timing is perfect with the Euros going on now? You've had this 2 week period plus whatever extra time you're gonna get to get acclimated versus joining right in the heart of the season, and now it's like, huh, where am I? You know?
Yeah, it's a little bit crazy. Honestly, the biggest blessing of it all is that Sweden and the NWSL are on the same timeline. So a lot
Mhm.
of transfers into the NWSL from Europe have played a full season, and this would be their off season, so they'd be going into a preseason. Whereas
Mhm.
luckily, like I was also at that mid-season break, so like a lot of the players and I's bodies are on the same calendar, which is a huge blessing. On top of that, though, like you said, like the Euros, of course, give it a break. And frankly, like where the stars at are in the NWSL placement right now, like July is preseason. And that was made very clear to me even when I was in Sweden, was like, you're gonna come in, you're gonna train July 1st, and like we are acting like this is preseason. We are, rewriting the script. We are doing, changing things up. It's been intense, it's been competitive, it's been fun. And so I think like being here for all of that has been fantastic. And then yeah, going into the Teal Cup this weekend, getting to play 2 games, like we're guaranteed 2 games. Of course, we want to win the first game and have it be the championship. It's going to be fantastic too to get those games in, hopefully get minutes on the field, and then like have a feeling of what this is like. The one thing I will say is like when I went to Louisville, I don't know that I was ready for the speed of play. Obviously, I knew it would be faster. And I think, like you mentioned, the pressure of not having a contract, the pressure of a lot of things also made those things worse and like feel, but also I don't know how ready I was. And like the thing I couldn't be prouder was is, taking a bet on myself, taking a chance in Sweden and using that to get better. I do feel more comfortable in the NWSL style. And I feel like that is because I went to Sweden. And for me, that was the best thing for me as a player. And I'm so happy I did it. And so I think that's to any player out there is like, listen, like everyone says everyone's journey is different. Clearly, everyone's journey is different. Some people can go straight out of college. Some people do need that time overseas. Some people want that time overseas. There's so many different aspects. So I couldn't be happier, but definitely it makes me excited for this weekend to hopefully, get to put on that jersey for the first time. And then August 1st, his first NWSL game.
Wow, that's amazing. It's so awesome. All right. So, what has been probably your favorite moment uh since joining the team, like in practice or just being around the organization? What's been your favorite part?
I mean, there's been a few. It's weird to me right now, just a bit like awkward in the sense of I am the only new person right now. Stars have made two signings in this, summer window. One of them is playing in the Euros for Germany right now. So I'm the new kid on the street. I'm the new kid on the block that's like trying to figure everything out. And so because of that, like, I mean, when you start in January and there's a bunch of new people, like the world kind of stops for the new people and you get very integrated, where it's like when it's just you kind of ride solo and you figure it out. But the girls have been amazing with helping me with that. But like day one, I just, they're like, oh, breakfast is over here. Go grab breakfast. And so I go and I grab my breakfast. And then I sit down at the table with Sam Staub and Alyssa Nair. And I'm like texting my mom. I'm like, how do I process that I am just sitting next to these people right now? Like, how do I even make conversation with them? In practice today, like, Alyssa Nair came up to me. I was like, hey, take that out of the air with your left foot in front of your right foot and go for it. She was like, absolutely correct, by the way. But I was like, oh, yes, Alyssa Nair, absolutely. Like, how do I do that? That's still something I'm figuring out. She's an incredible human being, but I'm like, I had a picture of you on my wall. Like, what do I say? So yeah, there has been some navigating with that. But once again, I'm so blessed to be in an environment that people of that caliber around me, and I am just taking every moment, every grain of information as I can.
That's so awesome, man. Oh my God. I wish I could spend the next like few hours just talking to you about this because I absolutely could because I'm so interested and obviously of course happy for you because this is like watching a dream come true. Like it's what could be better? I mean, honestly, seriously, it's amazing. Uh, but we do have to talk about the Euros. We do. It's obviously, one of the biggest competitions in the world. And this competition's been a lot of fun. I think overall, the 16 teams, it's been one of the best that the competition has ever had. From top to bottom, it truly feels like any one of these teams could have made it out of their group. I mean, maybe not every team, like Wales obviously had it tough in the group of death, but every single team, I think, can be proud of the way that they have played up until this point. Finland. I can't believe I'm starting this off with Finland, but they are probably the biggest surprise of anybody in this tournament. Knew that they had the defensive capabilities with Natalie Kuikka and Emma Koivisto. They've got some big players at the back, but what they're doing offensively did not see this coming at all, and they actually have a chance to get out of the group. One thing to remember, note is like, guys, the quarterfinals will happen by the time this episode comes out, so bear with us here. But Finland has a chance to make it out. Poland, Iceland, Portugal, Belgium, Wales, all have given teams trouble. Belgium giving Spain all the trouble in the world, getting them to 2-2. That was again, I mean, obviously
That's
Spain
been the game
took
of
it
the
up
tournament.
another
That
line.
has been the game of the tournament. And obviously you see, a 6-2 result. You don't think it is, but if you watch that game back, I mean, absolutely unreal.
Right. Like Belgium, like that Belgium Portugal game is actually going to be very interesting for the prospects of that group because Spain are in all likelihood going to beat Italy, and so that will leave the door open for one of those teams. If they can beat the other one badly enough on goal difference, they will get a chance to advance there. I think another big talking point was England, of course, the defending champions losing the first game to France and then coming back and just absolutely putting a shellacking on the Dutch 4-0. Were you expecting that? Because I definitely did not see that
I
coming.
mean, throw back to like the 2019 World Cup when the Dutch were in the World Cup final against the US. Like Netherlands has always had a presence in these massive tournaments. And so, yeah, 4-0 was not something I, saw coming. And I think that's a shell shock to Netherlands. I mean, there is still a chance Netherlands makes it out of the group, but I mean, Wales is going to have to upset England or there's going to be some crazy goal differential stuff because of that 4-0 defeat. So, that really, I think, might be the thorn in the Netherlands side moving forward, which, like you said, I mean, that group of death. But,
Mhm.
like, I'm sorry, one of my favorite moments of this tournament, and I'm a sucker. Cary Jones on Wales was my teammate at North Shipping. I'm a huge Wales fan watching their journey, but it's like when Jess Fishbach scored the goal, the first goal in a major tournament for Wales. I don't care if they lost 3-1. Like that
Mhm.
moment, that is why we watch sports.
Absolutely. Watching what they have done. just from a women's soccer perspective, knowing what they've backed with Wrexham, the football club as well out there, and like seeing what these women have done has been absolutely incredible. They looked great in the first half against the Dutch in that first game before the Dutch finally broke through. They defended incredibly well and actually were in the game and creating their own chances. So that's what makes this tournament so special is moments like that, like you said, for Wales to get that goal and for it to be Jess Fishlock as well is just so incredibly special. Like who has done more for Wales than she has? Just a special moment. We also have to go back though to your former country of residence, Sweden. I think looking as dangerous as they have ever looked, Kosovari Asllani, 200 plus caps, only that makes her the 29th player ever to do that on the women's side to get to 200 caps, which is incredible. I want to see this team against a Spain or an England or something like that where they are the antithesis of these free-flowing teams. They have that ability to defend, score from set pieces, and now they're getting the attacking prowess as well with Aslani and Blackstenius. So, what do you think about this Sweden team, and what are their chances of getting to the semis or finals?
Yeah, the best thing about it is frankly, like, I don't want to say negative, but there's been talk in Sweden about like the national team and are they as strong as they have been? And there was a lot of questions going into this tournament, this being
Mm.
a big tournament. And like I feel like Sweden is one of those teams that always shows up in tournament play. They know how to do tournament play. And
Hmm.
so there haven't been a ton of like huge games against other top teams in the recent years for Sweden. For example, I feel like they've played Denmark like 4 times this year. And I think that's me being exaggerating, but I actually think it's three. Like they played Denmark a ton. And so it's like, okay, like we can beat Denmark. They beat them 1-0, first round of this pool here. What happens? And Sweden's one of those teams that I honestly think rises to the team that they play. And so I completely agree. I have said it like there isn't no defender like a Swedish defender. Like there is something about Swedish defending and how structured it is that is beyond impressive. Frankly, you were saying Finland is very good at defending. I agree. Half those players play in the Damallsvenskan in Sweden. So that's honestly why it's been so fun for me to watch Finland is because I've played against half those girls. And so I think like there is something really unique to how they do it. The best thing that you said that they're figuring out is their aerial dominance. Their ability to score off the head in the air. Blackstenius coming into true form after her Champions League winning goal, I think is just like that boost going into the Euros. And like, frankly, one of the special things about Sweden too is like they are not afraid to throw some youth in there. They subbed in Smilla Holmberg, who is an 18-year-old who plays for Hammarby in the Damallsvenskan. I marked her in my last game in Sweden. They, threw her in. She has played significant minutes as an outside back in this league. 20-year-old Elin Wengerhan is the leading goal scorer of the Damallsvenskan right now. Both of them in their first ever major tournaments playing minutes in this game. So, like, I love the backing of players in Sweden. So, I agree. I would love to see them against a top team. And frankly, looking to Spain, of course, they're the favorite going into this. We all know that. But, like, I think Spain right now, their bane, the thing that they struggle with is an aerial attack. They don't have
Hmm.
that strength there. So matching them up against someone like Sweden who has come into their own in that sense, I think there's upsets to be had. I think that my hot take is Spain might not go as far as was expected. I think there is an upset on the table there for someone to grab, and I think a team like Sweden could be the team to do it.
I love that. I love that because I again agree with you completely. And Spain, like watching that, it wasn't like the goals that they gave up to Belgium were well worked team goals or worldies. They were like in the box, unable to clear. And the second goal especially was a clear set piece goal, like in front of the box. And I'm like, this is what Sweden literally does. It's like if you cannot defend this, it is going to get exploited by a better team later in the tournament. So exactly. That is probably the biggest shock was Spain giving up those two goals, and it makes you point and say, hey, um, it really makes you say like they are not as clean. It wasn't as clean as it could have been. It wasn't as, you know, dominant as it could have been because any elite team, like those are the types of mistakes that you have to avoid because they will come back to bite you later. And so that was the biggest sign of like, okay, they are vulnerable. You can beat them. They are a beatable team. For as great as they looked in the first game, it was like, oh, Belgium actually can score, and Belgium can actually score on Spain. So yeah, definitely some eyebrows raised. And I think I agree with you. Spain has they better be careful. I think another team that they could be careful of is France, who is actually flying under the radar here. Two wins in two. It was again, the context coming in was you let Wendy Renard go, you let Eugenie Le Sommer go, you didn't bring them, and they have just lived up to the billing in every sense of the word. Like they have truly come forward and look like this might be the year that they make that step. Can they make that step? I can't wait for these quarterfinals because that it's just such a compelling storyline. They are not being talked about in spite of beating England and getting that win. I don't think they are being talked about enough. And I think if they're going to get the offensive output that they're going to get from Diani, from Katoto, and from Grace Gayoro, and they have so many attacking options now that they are going to be a team to look out for sure. Have you gotten a chance to watch what they're bringing to the table?
Yeah, and you hit a lot of nails exactly on the head of like, I think there's a lot of speculation in France of like, hey, like you're not bringing Renard? Like, I mean, I remember even the conversation in my locker room when that roster came announced. And then there's been, like believe it was Dali who said like she'll share her story after the Euros because she doesn't want to, comment on that. So there was some controversy with their roster. And so, I think they've credit to them. They saw what they were seeing in camp. Can't speculate as to what the heck that is, but they've stood on their ground and they've shined through that. And I agree. I agree they're not getting talked about, but like after that first game, like, I mean, it was like a lightning game between England and France and a fun football game, frankly. And so my biggest thing with them is, if they can be consistent, that's something we've seen with France over time in massive tournaments is they can start strong, but then they fizzle. So when they get to a quarter stage final, how do they act instead of being in pool play and the safety of pool play? Not that it's safe, but
Hmm.
it's obviously not win or die as the extent. So I think that will really, shine the test. And I think that goes to say, like, in these tournaments, when we talk about, whatever, we talk about the final, maybe we talk about the semi. No, like lightning is going to happen in these quarterfinals. I don't know what
Hmm.
the matchups are yet. Whatever there will be, they will be fun. So if you are a fan of football, if you are watching these games, like make sure you're paying attention to these quarterfinal rounds because I think like there's potential, and we've seen it before in sports history that a quarterfinal could be better than the final. And I think
Hmm.
that is a situation that might be happening in this tournament.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to see how it's gonna turn out. I think two more teams we've got to talk about. One being Germany. Again, still holding their own in the same group as Sweden. I've got that as the game of the week coming up. That's gonna be an absolute banger of a game to see who's gonna win Group C. Of course, Julia Gwynn goes down, big loss for them, but everyone else seems to be they're still deep. They're still such a deep team that it didn't look like they felt it in the second game, against Poland. So, how are you feeling about their prospects? Because they do look good.
Yeah, they look good. They look sharp. I think Sweden will be their first test. If you look at that bracket, like I do believe that Sweden and Germany are the two stronger teams over Denmark and Poland. That being said, it was 1-0 Denmark at half, and Germany came back to win it 2-1, but that also was with the assists. It does matter drawing PKs, but also
Mhm.
there's some help there too. And so I think there is some questions to still be answered out of Germany. I think that Sweden Germany game, like you said, that's lightning, that stars to be watching right there. I think my biggest, they have a strong backline. Rebecca Knock has impressed me. She always has. I think going from, frankly, once again, Dalmas to Man City has been a great step for her. And I think it's really helped her embrace that center back role for Germany. Once again, it comes down to this consistency factor. And that's what tournament play is. And let's like, frankly, like I said, Sweden is good at tournament play. They tend to be able to be consistent in these kind of performances and know how to handle the big lights. And so I think Germany is looking strong. I'm excited to see what happens when they play a bigger name and what happens to, the nerves, the moments when they play in a bigger game. And I think that will really
Mhm.
define how Germany's tournament goes.
It's a great point because a lot of the time you have a leader like Gwyn, you have a leader like Alexandra Pop, who is also retired from the national team. So this is their first competition without, those big stars. I think, yeah, they may be a quarterfinal, semifinal team, but can they get to the final? I think that is the big question mark. We will see. Lastly, I did not have them on our sheet here, so forgive me, but Norway. I think is probably the most interesting because they probably had the easiest group. Didn't look great in either game, but ended up with 6 points and ended up in the quarterfinal. The first team in the quarterfinal. So that's the thing with these tournaments is like Norway didn't look like their best and still found a way to get it done. What do you think about their chances in the tournament?
Yeah, Norway is one of those teams that always ceases to amaze me because I truly believe that the individual talent that comes out of Norway is unreal. Like absolutely unreal. And so I always in my brain and I'm looking at it from a stat sheet and I'm like, Norway should be considered one of these top 5, 10 teams in the world. And I don't know if
Hmm.
it's putting all the talent together. I don't know if it's the structure of their national team system. I have no information behind that. But I'm really curious to know because some of the heavy hitters on Norway are just unbelievable players. And so I think
Hmm.
that's their issue right now is when you watch the games, in my opinion, they look a little individualistic. They're players that know how to create by themselves. They're players that defend by themselves. So they're really, really good in those individual settings. But when you're playing teams that know how to combine, that know how to play around each other, especially when you get to a level like playing like a France or a Spain, it will be hard to be an individual game. So I truly hope that Norway can really start gelling and getting on the same page because I think they have the talent to genuinely be a top 5 team.
Absolutely, yeah. Ada Hegerberg has been one of the best strikers in Europe for as long as we can remember. Guro Reiten, special player. Caroline Graham Hansen, that to me is like, I, she again scored that incredible goal in the last game and like has her brilliant moments, but it's like because the rest of the team, like you mentioned, the depth of the overall squad is not there, and I feel like defenses can very easily say, all right, fine, we're going to put two players around CGH at all times. So every time she tries to dribble around us, it ain't happening. Of course, didn't work in the last game because of that insane goal that she scored. But it's like the other players have to find a way to pick up the slack and get them the ball in key areas because they can't do everything. And I think, like you said, the individual talent is so strong that like they are so reliant on that talent that they have not focused on the rest of the roster, right? And it's like I mean, I'm trying to think. Maren Mjelde, I think, is still in the team, but she is probably one of their older, more veteran defenders who can't keep doing it at this level for however long it's been. Like they need to build out the rest of the team too, and that I think is probably their. It's going to be a missed opportunity. Like this, they're pretty sure they've won this competition before in their history. Like they're a proud footballing nation. They have to get this sorted. Like they have to figure this out. And again, the quarterfinals, we're gonna see who they're matched up against. I can't wait. But yeah, it's such a big question mark with Norway, and I hope that they get it sorted because yeah, like you said, they're too good of a team. They're too good of a team.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I mean, if this means anything, like we said earlier, I mean, these are games that are fun to watch. If you're an NWSL fan, I think some of these games are given a little bit of NWSL after dark chaos. If you're a football fan in general, I get, the US isn't in it, so a lot of people tend to not pay attention as much because they don't have that direct investment. But if you're a fan of women's football, these are games to turn on because they have just been lights out.
Yeah, seriously, we don't get many opportunities like this to see these countries come together and play with real stakes and to actually have it televised and available for us. Like, yeah, guys, like this is the creme de la creme of football. Like you gotta get on it. All right. Well, I think that just about does it for us on episode 81 of Give and Go. Sam, this has been amazing to talk with you. Of course, like cannot wait to see you in action. This is going to be amazing. I cannot believe you are a Chicago Stars player. This is amazing. And the Euros, of course, guys, make sure you stay tapped in because you're definitely not going to want to miss it.
Absolutely. No,
Sam,
thank
any
you
final
so much.
thoughts?
Yeah, thank you so much for following me on this journey. It's been incredible. I am so excited to represent Girls Soccer Network and Give and Go in the NWSL as well. And yeah, these are games to turn on. These are games to tune into. And I mean, also if you're bored and in Kansas City, Teal Rising Cup, here it's supposed to be pretty good. So hang out there as well.
Pull up to Kansas City, pull up. And if you want to follow her, right, go follow her on Instagram at Sam Cary Angel. If you want to give me a follow, Rowan Datas 25, and of course, Girls Soccer Network on Instagram as well, where we do all of our great work. And check out www.girlssoccernetwork.com as well. All right, guys, thank you so much. By the time we are back again, it should be the end of the Euros. We'll be back into the NWSL season, so you're definitely not going to want to miss it and follow Sam's journey along the way. All right. Thank you all. Peace.
Hang out.